Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys everything I've learned about Jinpachi. I play him with Dragunov as my main team now. I don't know if it's the team I'm going to stick with forever, but I definitely wanted to learn the character, especially after watching Bronson play. I think Jinpachi is a very interesting and unique character to this game. So I'll start with a character introduction. First of all, he's extremely easy. He's easy in almost all aspects of Tekken. Punishment, movement. I mean, he's just easy. Simple. Punishment is really easy with down forward 2, and all his block punishment is really laid out clearly. And his juggles produce a high amount of damage for a low amount of effort, which is really kind of important to me in this game, because I feel like the game revolves a lot around juggles, and the juggle combo system, especially with tag assault, is very finicky, and for some characters it's more finicky than others, which is why I think Jinpachi is exceptionally good in this game, because his damage output is so high while his execution is relatively low. So, I personally think that Jinpachi is the best character in the game, and by that, I want to make this clear. I think he's the best character in the game, but I think there are a lot of best characters in this game. I think there is a S tier, like the highest tier of the game, and I think that he falls within that category, but there are several other characters that also fall within that category as well. So, you know, you gotta take that with a grain of salt. I also think Heihachi is a S tier character, a high tier character in this game, as well as Kazuya and Nina. But it's a matter of, you know, the details, like on paper or in practice, as well as, you know, execution. I mean, how many people are there out there that can do, you know, the highest level of Nina execution every time in tournament? You know, it's a big factor. So that being said, Jinpachi is, you know, in my opinion, one of the best characters in the game, and is in contention for being the best in the game. Now, if you're thinking about picking the character up, I highly recommend it for anyone who plays this game, but I especially recommend Jinpachi for characters that, for players that are specialists of a character and feel like their character, they haven't found like a second character that they really want to use or that they really can rely on. I recommend Jinpachi for that, because the way I see this character is he's not really even like a character. He's more like a power assist, and you can use him with basically more or less any character to just fill in the tag function of the game. So let's say you're like, you name it. Let's say you're like a mHykeU player, right? I mean, I don't know anything about that character. I don't know if that's a good team with Jinpachi, but I can tell you that if you're a mHykeU specialist and you don't want to learn any other characters, just pick Jinpachi so you can play tag in this game, and trust me, you'll do alright. If you know how to play Tekken, you're gonna do okay with Jinpachi, because he's extremely, extremely good. Just playing him a very basic way, he's just really effective. And then if you get to learn his ins and outs and his okazemi and stuff, he becomes even more effective. So in my opinion, I think his best range to stay at is approximately at the tip of his down forward 2 range. Anywhere from this range and out, he's extremely dangerous. From up close, he has very few ways of getting back out to this range without making something whiff or the opponent making a mistake. So what you want to do is you want to maintain this range. The main reason for that is because down forward 1+2 is extremely cheap, and you want to be able to use this move with minimal risk. So at this range, at the tip range, this move will high crush all kinds of shit, and is extremely useful. It tracks as well. So you want to stay approximately at this range with this character. Now, from further away, you have lots of options. You can use down 3, you can use forward 3 or forward 4, and you can also use the forward teleport stance. I don't know what it's called, but to get in and then apply a mix-up. But I definitely would say that with punishing with down forward 2 and maintaining this range to let something whiff with a backdash is pretty much like your bread and butter with this character. This is where you want to stand. So that's for sure. We can start things off with punishment, but you know, I thought I'd mix it up a little bit because when I was learning this character, I realized the order in which I want to learn a character. So maybe we'll switch it up. I'm going to do punishers, and then I'm going to do throws and throw Okuzeme because that's the next thing I wanted to learn. So basically, I'm going to do this tutorial in the order of a tutorial that I want, like in myself. When I'm looking for a tutorial, I'm going to do it in that order. So let's start with punishers. Super fucking cheap in this department. His 1-2 is his 10 frame punisher, 36 damage. Interesting knockdown. It kind of slides them back like that. There are some wake up options. You can run up for a slash kick, which is pretty good. But it, you know, basically, if the, you know, it's basically just a punisher. Knockdown. It'll wall splat. Ton of damage. Very easy. You know, this is part of the reason we were talking earlier about how easy this character is. Just simple 1-2 will give you a lot of damage. For 10 frame, he also has 2-2. I don't really recommend it, but yeah, the reason is it'll give you plus frames, approximately I think 3 to 5. I don't remember exactly because I never use it. The good thing about it is that it gives you those plus frames, but the bad thing is that it still leaves you in a range where you don't really want to be in. After 2-2 hits, you know, you're still a little too close to, you know, for comfort. So I would highly recommend 1-2 over 2-2. For 12 frame punish, he has back 1-2. Back 1-2 is super good as well. It has great range, and it functions similarly to like Devil Jin and Kazuya's back 1-2. The one thing I would say, the one reason to not use back 1-2 over 1-2 is at a wall, back 1-2 is less reliable as a wall splat, and 1-2 is much more reliable as a wall splat. But otherwise, if you block something that's 13 frames or less, so minus 13 or less, I would recommend back 1-2 unless there's a wall nearby, only because of the damage and, you know, the consistent reliability of the move. For 13 frames, he doesn't have shit, really. He has probably, I think back 1+2 is 13 frames, but it doesn't matter because you don't ever need to use it. 1-2 and back 1-2 will cover it. And then you get to 14 frames, and that's when you're in Launcher Town, and nobody likes that shit. Down forward 2 is a 14 frame launcher, extremely easy, and it produces a shitload of damage. I don't know what damage your team can produce, but my team can do 102 relatively easily off of down forward 2, and you're doing 102 damage, and the wall carry is just unbelievable. It's the wall carry is crazy. We're talking wall to wall on almost every stage in the game. So really, really great wall carry and damage. The thing is, this move, you have to remember basically that this is the most important move that he has. I mentioned earlier that down forward 1+2 is really, really important, but I think that down forward 1+2 is really important, but down forward 2 is really the most important move in my opinion. It's your whiff punisher, it's your sidestep whiff punisher, it's your backdash whiff punisher, it's also your minus 14 and 15 and everything worse than that block punisher. It's just extremely important. One thing I should mention about this move, if you hit the opponent on the side or on the back, you know, they flip in a goofy way, and there might be some juggles that you can do, but basically I don't really know them. And when that happens, it's kind of like, whatever, fuck it, I'll just move on. I think there are some mini juggles you could do, but I usually just take Okuzeme when I hit on the side like that, because when you hit on a side like that and they land on their stomach, they can't tech roll very far. They can only do one mini roll, like what you're saying right here. So you could do a lot of wake up stuff. You know, it's really good. The other thing about down forward 2 I should mention before I move on is that on block it's only minus 12. So, you know, you don't ever really want to use down forward 2-1. At least with this team, and from what I've found with any team, at least any team that I've used. Down forward 2-1 is launch punishable on block, and really you don't even need to ever fuck with it. It's really not that big of a deal. Down forward 2, minus 12, you know, super, super fucking good. So that's his standing punishment. As you can see, for standing punishers, I don't know if you guys are new to this character or not, but I just gave you 3 things. I told you 3 things. All you have to remember is 3 things, and you know his standing punishment. 1, 2, back 1, 2, and down forward 2. That's it. And you know how to punish standing shit with Jinpachi. So now moving on to wall standing punishers. Another department where he excels. So 11 frames, you have wall standing 4-4. This move acts very similarly to tsunami kicks for Mishimas. Very good damage for an 11 frame punisher from wall standing. It also is a very reliable wall standing move. So if you block a slide, you can do wall standing 4 and it will float like a slide from Law or a regular generic slide. You can float them with a wall standing 4 and that kind of a slide. And you could do a down 1 to bound. So wall standing 4 is a very, very good, reliable wall standing 4. On top of that, wall standing 4-4 is good damaging and reliability. The second hit also hits on the ground, so really good. The only thing is, if you get the second hit blocked, it is launch punishable, so you have to keep that in mind. But to cover that, in case you ever do get the second hit blocked, you have a third hit, which is wall standing 4-4-1. It is also launch punishable on block, but the use of dead buttons here can help at times. So if you do get wall standing 4-4 blocked, what I would do if I was sitting next to my opponent, which you usually will be, is dead button 2. So I would do wall standing 4-4-2, and the opponent will hesitate their punish, and nothing will come out, and you'll be good to go. So that's one thing with wall standing 4-4. Let me get some water here. Okay, so that's his 11 frame punish. For 13 frame punish, I think he has wall standing 3. I think that's 13 frames. It is good, but there aren't that many things in the game that are minus 13. And you know, wall standing 4-4 isn't going to give you a lot of frames on hit. I think it might be close to neutral. Like, so you can't really take full advantage of the frames here. There isn't much you can do. So if you want frames at minus 13, you could do wall standing 3. I think it gives you around plus 5 frames, but it leaves them a bit far. The good thing is that it leaves them in the sweet spot. That's where you want to be as a Jinpachi player. So you can advance from here with something like down back 2-1 or down 3, or you can, like, let's say they want to, you know, get cheeky and they want to like push a button afterwards. You're in the right space where you can back up and then whiff punish it with a down forward 2. So yeah, wall standing 3, decent, but still not as much damage as wall standing 4-4. At minus 14 from crouch, wall standing 1-1 is an extremely useful launcher. It bounds right away, but does a good amount of damage, and is almost hit confirmable. It's not hit confirmable, but it's very, very close. So if you duck while standing and you see them kind of swing or, you know, push a button or whatever, it's almost close enough to hit confirmable where you can let it rip. The good thing is that it's not really that unsafe on block. I'm not sure exactly how unsafe it is. I think it's minus 13 on block, but it's not really that big of a deal. Also, I would recommend wall standing 1 on its own to train your opponent. This isn't as a block punish, but just mentioning it with the move. I'll probably talk more about that later when I get to you know, this move in the move analysis section of this tutorial. So wall standing 1-1, as I mentioned, 14 frame launcher, extremely good. You know, exceptionally good considering the other characters in this game. Another reason why I think this character is so good just on paper. And then for basically that's your wall standing punishment. You have wall standing 2, that's 20 frames, but that's not really a punisher unless you're blocking something with a stagger. So yeah, that is a 20 frame punisher, and it is tag bufferable for a ton of damage. Let me see if I could show you the combo I do. Oops. That's the combo I do off of wall standing 2. It's really good. But, you know, as I mentioned, it's really slow, so it doesn't really apply to punishers here. But those are basically what you have to deal with. I mean, I don't know if you guys know how to use Jinpachi at all, but standing punish 1-2, back 1-2, and down forward 2. And while standing punish is while standing 4-4 and while standing 1-1. I mean, that's really like fucking super easy, dude. I mean, even a moron can learn that instantly and apply it, and all you have to do is learn the combos afterwards, and you're already pissing people off with this character. You're well on your way to pissing people off, and that's really the goal. You know, that's really the goal. So, you know, those are the block punishers for this character. I'll get into whiff punishers and stuff when I go through each move. But the next thing I want to talk about before I go on to throws is high crush and low crush, because I feel like that's a really important part of this game. So basically, the way you want to deal with highs with this character, if you want to be safe, the best way to deal with highs with this character is down back 2-1, or just simply ducking and then seeing the high and doing while standing 1. The good thing about while standing 1 is it's 14 frames, which is faster than the average launcher, and as I mentioned, it's very close to being hit confirmable. So you can use it as like, oh, this guy might jab, duck while standing 1. Oh yeah, he did jab, and then boom, finish it off. I think that that's an excellent way to deal with jabs. If you want to get a little risky, you could do down back 1-2. I think this is one of the cheapest high crushes in the game. It's extremely cheap. It's a 10 frame down 1, which is down back 1 for him. And on counter hit, down back 1-2 is a natural counter hit combo, which wall splats. Really, really great, great high crushing move. At the wall, basically, it's like Law's down 2-3, but better because you don't get a huge flip kick for the opponent to react to. This move goes unpunished way more than it should. It's minus like 16 or something on block, but I mean, if you watch matches of this character, even good players don't punish this move every time. It goes unpunished way more than it should. So really, really a great high crushing move. I highly recommend it when you anticipate the opponent to retaliate from something that's safe with jabs, especially if the wall is nearby, because the reward for it goes way up. And that's really something that you need to remember. For low crush, excuse me. For low crush, I tend to gravitate towards up 4. It has good tracking to both sides. Though it is steppable, it does track to some extent. And you get a free stomp afterwards. And this is a classic mix-up, because if they try to get up to reduce the damage from the stomp, you can do a down 1 into bound and do a mini combo, just like that. So, really, really great move, really cheap. You know, it's safe on block, and it's a knee, so they can't really counter it or parry it. So, it's really cheap, basically. Let me grab some water. Alright. So basically, that's what those are the high and low crushes I would use. There are others like down 3 and I mentioned down back 2-1 and a few others, but I generally think those are the ones you should gravitate towards if you're gonna make a hard read on a low or a high. Otherwise, I think you should just play straight up. The good thing about Jinpachi is I think playing Tekken in the pure sense of the word, as in just playing without any bullshit, not partying too hard, just moving around, playing Tekken correctly, sidewalking when you need to, and block punishing and whiff punishing. If you play that way and you know his punishers, you don't really have to party that hard. The partying is really like a bonus. When you have momentum with Jinpachi, you can start partying really hard, and that's when it's like, oh shit, a minute ago this guy was playing solid and I didn't have to worry too much about all this bullshit, and now he got the momentum, or he got the lead, or he got a round or two on me, and now he's going crazy. What the fuck am I gonna do about this? That's basically the philosophy that I take when I play this character. I try to play Tekken by the book at first, and then once I see, you know, like I smell the blood in the water, I just go after it, you know, like just pounce. That's what you have to do, because the character is extremely bullshit when you're partying, but he's also extremely bullshit when you're playing solid. So he's bullshit everywhere, all over the walls. You know, that's basically what you have to remember. No matter how your playstyle is, it's going to be just fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? So, let's move on to his throws. One thing I didn't mention that I think I should mention for while standing punishment. Let me show you guys this shit. So he has crouch grabs, which normally aren't that big of a deal for while standing punishment, except he has a crouch grab that's a throw launcher. Crouching, I'm sorry, down 1+3 is a launcher. So you can move up and do, you know, whatever combo you want. And, you know, it's something to remember when you block something that recovers in crouch that is -13. They will have to break that throw. It is a 1 break. The 2 throw is this double power bomb thing. You know, it does 45 damage, which is more damage than his 13 frame punishers. So, you know, if you don't want to, you know, I guess it's one of those things where if you want to try to do a crouch grab and see if they break it, you can get a decent amount of, you know, damage. Let's see here. Moving on. Oops, that's not what I want to stand. Okay, so for throws, his 1 throw gives you great Okizeme. What I do for wake-ups for a quick rise is I do up back 1-2. Now you can either do up back 1 into tag assault and just do your combo like that. This is to beat a quick rise. That also beats a back roll as well, which is really good. But you can either do that or you can just do up back 1-2 and then hold forward. The good thing about doing that is if the opponent decides to do like a side roll, you're not in any danger. Let's see if we could have him do a side roll. So let's say they do a side roll, you do up back 1-2, and they, you know, you're all the way over there because you did the fly stance. So the good thing about not doing a tag assault, and you can also do the tag assault if they don't, you know, like I can do a 1 throw, I could do up back 1, tag assault 2, and then fly. So you're doing all those things at the same time. You're doing up back 1. If that hit, the tag assault would have happened. If it doesn't hit, then you're going to fly away. And if they quick rise late, so if they do a late rise, the second hit is going to hit and still combo. So very, very good. You know, it's one of those things where you want to know what to do after a throw. And this is what I've found to be the best thing. And if they're just staying down, of course you can do, you know, one of your many ground hitting moves. You know, I don't know why that one didn't hit there. Let's see. Oh, I guess it doesn't hit a side roll to that side. I usually do a down 4. Let's see if that hits in this case. Yeah. But what I usually go with is down 4 if they don't get up. But I try to go for up back 1-2 just because it's such a safe option if they don't get up, you know. For a 2 throw, well, there's a similar wake-up situation. A down 1 will beat a quick rise and a back roll. I'll show you guys that right now. So off of the 2 throw, it leaves them in the face down, head towards position. And a down 1 will hit a quick rise or a back roll, again giving you a small combo like that. And then basically the same scenario as before. You do the down 1 to beat quick rise and back roll, and then if they stay down, you either use a down 4 on the ground or any one of your other ground hitting moves depending on what they're going to do. So that's basically what you're going to do with Jinpachi for his 1 and 2 throws. For his 1+2 grab, which is the stone head, I usually use this move at the wall because it wall splats. Or if I want to tag out, because you can tag buffer this, and on the other end when you bring in your character, depending on what running moves they have, you can mix them up. So in the case of Dragunov, you can do a slide if they tech roll, which is possible after that throw. I'll show you that. So if they tech roll and you do the running slide, they're going to have to guess 50-50 there between the running slide and the running 2, which I fucked up right there. Like that. So they're going to have to guess a 50-50 between those two. And, you know, it's a pretty solid option. Now, obviously, you're not necessarily going to be using Dragunov. So what I would suggest is you think about what moves your character has on the inbound to take advantage of this wake-up situation. Because they are kind of tech rolling in a peculiar back-turn way. So it can be pretty cheap. Let's see, moving on. So now that we talked about high crush and low crush, I think we can move on and talk about just the general move list. I already discussed 1-2, a great 10 frame Punisher, but 1 back 2 is extremely important. This is basically your poke to buy you time. Like, if you don't know exactly what to do, they're acting a fool. What I always try to do, the way I do this command, is forward 1, back 2. I do forward 1, back 2 to get a lead jab for the jab, which generally speaking gives you more range on your jab. So forward 1, back 2, this will also, since 1-2 and 1 back 2 are a very similar notation, it's possible to fuck it up if you're not, you know, being very careful. I find that I fuck this up much less if I do forward 1, back 2. Forward 1, back 2 is safer to do. Now, the first hit is 10 frames, just like a jab. The second hit is -5 on block, which is safe. I think it's around -5 on block, which is very, very safe. If they try to retaliate with jabs, you have enough time to do down back 1-2. You don't need to do that, but at the wall, it can be a good idea at times, just because, you know, you're going to yield a ton of damage if you get the wall splat. So, this is, as I mentioned, a great move to buy yourself time. You can delay the second hit a little bit, as you can see right there. I'm delaying it. The second hit also will knock down on counter hit, which is good. It will wall splat on counter hit, which is also good. And if the first hit counter hits and you don't do a delay at all, this is a natural counter hit combo. So really, really a great move. One of his most important moves. You just have to use this. It's really, really important, especially for a character that is all power hits, not really a poke character. You need a move like this to kind of buy yourself time to make your decisions. On 2-2, I mentioned, kind of a shitty move, not really worth using. Another thing I should mention is for Jinpachi, my philosophy is minimalistic. You want to only use the things that you know are fucking cheap, and you don't really want to use stuff that you don't need. The whole point in picking this character is being a bitch. And you're not going to be a bitch if you're trying to do all these fancy-ass moves that no one does. You want to be a bitch in the most minimalistic way. And so if you do that, then you don't need moves like 2-2. 2-2 is an unnecessary move. It happens. Sometimes you'll use it, but you don't really need to be thinking about it too much. Excuse me. Standing 4, another one. You don't really need to think about this shit. It does give a combo on counter hit. You know, that's a decent amount of damage, but it's not really what you want to be doing. You don't want to think about it too much. It exists, but whatever. Who gives a shit? 1+2. You know, this fireball thing, I've seen people use it to punish raw tags from across the screen. I like it for that. I've also accidentally done it in many situations in the past where it has worked out in my favor. So, you know, I don't use it on purpose ever, but there are uses for it. I think the most practical use for it is definitely for a raw tag punish from when you're far away. But even then, I feel like you could have used something better. Like, you know, 3+4 into something else. You know, but it is there. Again, you know, don't really think too much about this fireball shit. It's really not that big of a deal. Moving on. Forward 2, 1, 1+2. This move is mostly used in wall combos. The first hit has a reasonably long range, but again, you know, you shouldn't really be using it for a poke. Forward 2, 1, you know, it's a natural combo. Basically, I'm just talking about this move because I need to talk about it, but it's really like, who gives a shit? The last hit is a little bit unsafe. I think -13 or 14. It might be launch punishable for all I know. I basically never use it in that way, and I don't think it's useful in that way. It's just good for wall combos, for low parry combos, or whatever else kind of combos you want to use it in. And you know. Oh, and if you hit their back, it's pretty good. Oh yeah, I think the best thing to do here is, what was the best thing to do? Damn, I forgot. Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember what it is now. It's this shit. If you hit him at an angle like that, that's guaranteed. So you get 99 damage. So on the occasion where, like, let's say you sidestep a tag crash or some shit, you're going to get a shitload of damage by doing that combo. So pretty decent. But again, I don't really use this move that much. I don't really think it's that good. But you got to remember it's there. Forward 3, I like this move a lot. This move is really good. It covers a shitload of ground, and it whiffs surprisingly well. What I mean by that is, by the time the opponent has seen you whiff, you are likely to have recovered before they can whiff punish it with anything other than something really quick, or if they were really looking for it. It has a great whiff animation. Give me 1 second. I had to clear my throat. Okay, so I think this move is exceptionally good. It's safe on block. It's really a great move overall. I highly recommend it. You can do the same thing that you do with forward 1 back 2, where if you feel like they're going to jab, you can down 1 afterwards. It's really a solid move overall. Lots of range, hits side roll, and on counter hit, it is a launcher. So definitely a more usable move than some of the other ones I just mentioned. Forward 4, I use this shit all day long, especially at the wall. If you land with like a combo at the wall and you are waking them up, it's extremely good. This move is really good. It's +3, I think, on block. So what that means is if you do this at the wall or anywhere, I guess, and you do a throw is uninterruptible. So basically what you're doing is you're doing forward 4, putting them in a mix-up situation between a throw or, you know, if they want to attack, they're just going to get rolled up, because I mean +3 is enough for you to get an uninterruptible down back 1-2 or a 1-2 or, you know, lots of shit. So really exceptionally good move, forward 4. It works just like all the other Mishima forward 4s. So yeah, it's really good. Moving on. Forward 1+2. I don't really use this move that much, but at the wall it can be a good wall splat move because it's safe and it's mid. But again, I don't really use it that much because I don't like the way it feels when you get it blocked. When you get this move blocked, even though it's safe, you're really close, especially at the wall. The wall keeps them very close. So, you know, I don't love this move that much, but there are some players that really like to use it. And it is useful, as I mentioned, as a wall splatting move. It's just not my favorite. I would rather use down forward 3 types of shit at the wall just to fuck with them, and or forward 4. I do that stuff more. This stance is really something that I think is worth mentioning here. The backwards version of this stance, which is the one that you'll use slightly more, is good for a tag cancel when you come in, just to create space. There are follow-ups which are good for punishing whiffs that you created with this backwards teleport thing. But I think that generally speaking, the existence of those is what makes this back stance so good, because it recovers really shitty. Like if you look how long it takes me to crouch after I do this stance, that is how long it takes you to block. So if you do this stance, you're out in the open big time. But if you dead button and make the opponent think that you're gonna do one of the follow-ups, they can at times hesitate to punish your stance, because you can attack way before you can block out of this stance. And this one, the 2 out of the stance, is safe on block. The other one, this is 1 out of the stance, which is a mid. I'm not sure if it's safe on block. I rarely use it because it has less range, and the 2 out of this stance is really the one I use for you know, whiff punishing, a whiff that I've created with this stance. So yeah, that's what these 2 moves are here. The 1+2 is a throw, and you're never going to use this out of a backwards teleport, ever. You're never going to use that. It's really not useful. But out of the forward teleport, you know, the throw, it can be broken by 1+2, but, you know, it's not really something I use that often. It's like whatever. It's kind of a gimmick. The pizzeria throw, I mean, it's pretty cool. He sets them on fire and shit, but, you know, not really that big of a deal. But talking about what happens when these moves hit. So this move, the forward, out of a forward teleport, you know, on occasion you'll hit with these moves. And off of the backwards teleport, you'll hit with the 2 because it has good range. If the 2 hits, if they are close enough, which they are not unless they do something like, if you do a back teleport and they whiff something and then you do the 2, a lot of the times you'll be close enough for a stomp to be guaranteed. And it also depends on what character you're playing against. Some characters are, they are taller, so this will hit. But it depends on range, as I mentioned. If it's close enough, it is guaranteed, and you can use the same setup as you use off of an up 4. So you can do forward, whatever, into that shit, and then do the partial combo if they try to get up. So that's something to remember. Let me grab some water. Alright. So moving on. This is Jinpachi's shoulder whiff punisher. I don't really use it that much in open ground, but it is usable. The thing is, it's -14 on block, so that's better than most shoulders. However, it's 18 frames, so it's very slow. I use this to... There's one scenario in which I think this is extremely good, and that is... Let me see if I can show you. I don't know if it even works in open ground. This is a wall scenario, but let's try it out. So if you do a combo... Yeah, it doesn't work there. But if you do a combo at the wall and the opponent does a tag crash, but they have almost no health left, so they're almost going to die, you can use this move to get underneath the tag crash and hit the outbound opponent with one last hit before they leave to kill them. So it acts kind of like an alley kick for King, where in some situations you'll be able to kill the guy even if they're going to tag crash, which is really good overall. Let's see. Moving on. I did mention it's -14, so it's a solid whiff punisher for that. And, you know, it's not... It has good range. It'll wall splat. Good Danny. And it also will high crush on occasion. Not really well, but it'll happen. It's just not really something that you want to rely on. I would say that that move is definitely usable, but not one of his most important key moves for sure. This unblockable, basically, I don't know how to use it. I don't think it's very good. It looks shitty, and whatever. Who gives a shit about that unblockable? Down forward 1-1, I find that the second hit is never worth doing. Like, it's never worth doing unless you 100% are sure the first hit's gonna hit. Or you think that they are sidewalking. If they're sidewalking, the second hit can catch them in the sidewalk. But overall, I highly recommend down forward 1 just on its own. Mid, decent range. It's really a solid move. It's 14 frames, and it's what you have to use as your mid poke to get them to stand up and just to keep them in check overall. The good thing is that since there's a down forward 1-1, if you do down forward 1-2, which is what I do very often, people will block the first hit and try to duck the second hit, which you never did, but they did here. And by that time, you could do another down forward 1 because you didn't do it. So basically, you're being an asshole. And that's the key. As I mentioned, you want to be a bitch, and that's the way to be a bitch. Dead button, the down forward 1-1. Nobody likes that. Moving on. Down forward 2, I mentioned it earlier. Really, really great move. It's your whiff punisher. It's your block punisher. A ton of damage output depending on your team. As I mentioned, with this team, I could do easily 102 damage. Really, really great and cheap move. Moving on. Down forward 2-1. It is a natural combo, and you can do high damage combos off of it, but I find that it's really unnecessary. You never need to do this. The second hit is launch punishable on block, but it is mid. The only time I ever do this is when I've been getting a lot of down forward 2s blocked, and they're trying really hard to punish it. On occasion, I'll quietly hit the second hit so that they, you know, will get hit, but it's really a risk. Every time I do that, even when it works, I think to myself, like, you really shouldn't have done that. It wasn't a good idea. So, yeah, don't ever do the second hit. Down forward 2 is good enough. Minus 12, 14 frame move, hella fucking cheap. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. Alright, these moves I think are really great. I mean, really what tie the room together for this character. So, as you can see, down forward 2 is extremely good. So you need to start using some mids. I already talked about up 4 being a really, really great mid. And I haven't gotten to down forward 1+2 yet. But down forward 3 and the extensions off of down forward 3 are super, super good. Basically, here's how it works. Down forward 3, 2 will wall splat and knock down, and is a natural combo. Down forward 3, 1. Now the problem with down forward 3, 2 is the second hit is high. So on block, the opponent can duck the second hit and launch you. Now, down forward 3, 1 is a mid. It gives you about +3 to 5, I think closer to 3. Actually, I'm sure it's +3. But they're forced into crouch. Now, the thing is, +3 isn't really that much. However, this move does so much damage, and the hit animation is so severe that oftentimes the opponent will not attack, even though they are at -3 only. So -3 isn't something where the opponent usually is not going to attack for sure. But in this case, because the hit stun animation is so severe, they rarely attack. So the good thing is that you can use these mix-ups like all day. What I do is I do down forward 3 and I dead button another 3. So they're like trying to guess what I'm going to do afterwards because they get greedy about ducking the second hit, but nothing even comes out. So again, you're just being a pest. You're pestering. Also, if they block the second hit of this, it has quite a bit of pushback. So let's see if I can just do it here. Yeah, it has quite a bit of range and pushback. Let's see if I can. If you get it blocked shallow, it can be hard for the opponent to punish it at times. So it's just like an added bonus of this move. Both of these on block, I believe, are -13. So even if they stand block both, like Bob will be able to punish you every time. I think Lars will be able to punish you every time. But you know, most people are greedy, so they're not gonna let you get away with doing this mid-high. So, you know, you just have to work it. You got to work the setup. You got to work the down forward 3. But it's really, really good. Excuse me. Yeah, so I highly recommend it, especially at the wall. This is the cheap shit at the wall. So I'll get into that more when we talk about the wall game. But really, really great moves. They really tie the room together, especially down forward 3, dead button. I mean, it's just going to terrorize people. It's so good. And then, you know, boom, every now and then, boom, they don't like that. Oh, God, half my life bar's gone, you know. So really, really a great move. Down forward 4, I do it on accident a lot because down forward 4 generally is a command that I do when I want a mid, like a panic mid command. Most characters have a really good down forward, good fast mid down forward 4. So I accidentally do this move very often, but I don't think you should ever do it. There's no reason to do down forward 4 over down forward 1+2. They're almost the same speed, and one is a launcher that tracks 360, and the other is a piece of shit that doesn't do anything at all. So again, they approximately have the same range, and you know, I mean, there's really no reason to do it. I would not use it if you have the choice. Again, I use it when I'm, you know, in the clutch. When I just do something, I'll use it accidentally just because I want a mid, but I wouldn't use it if I were you. Down forward 1+2 is one of the most important moves for this character. It is your main mid. If the opponent is ducking, this is the move you're doing. I don't know why someone just put the chat into subscriber only mode, but a moderator, please change that. Anyway, moving on. This is definitely the most important mid that this character has. It's his main mid launcher. It's safe on block. It tracks all the way around him, almost to his back. Really fucking cheap move. The only thing is that you have to bound right away against most characters. so you're gonna leave the opponent with a lot of red life. But I mean, you're doing 90 points damage easily into wake-ups here, so it's really a cheap move. I mean, you could just kill people with this character so quickly. Anyway, moving on. I think I mentioned enough about this move. I can't stress enough how good it is. You have to use it as your main mid and your main tracking move. That is your main tracking move and your main mid. It's just like, this character is so fucking cheap. It's, like I said, minimalistic. So if you take away all the moves that so far I told you are shitty, and you only use the moves that I said are essential and really good, I mean, just look at this move alone. We're talking about a high crushing mid launcher that tracks 360 and is safe on block. I mean, come on, dude. What is this? How did this get past the, you know, the idea table over at Namco? I mean, how did this get past that? It's such a cheap move. I don't even understand it. I don't even understand why they made this move. Nobi, who is known to be one of the best Tekken players in Japan, thinks that this is the best move in the game. I've read that he's said that is the best move in the game. I mean, if a top player is able to easily, hands down, say this is the best move in a game that has like 500,000 moves in it, it must be good, is what I'm saying. It must be fucking good. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's good. Don't argue with me. It's good. Really good. One of the best moves ever. It's fucking good. So anyway, I don't want to even talk about it anymore. If you don't know it's good by now, then I'm sorry. There is no tutorial on the planet that can help you. You're just not listening. Moving on. Down one. At first, I didn't think it was that important outside of combos. However, there is a really, really good use for this move. It's really important for those pesky-ass stance characters like fucking Christy and Eddie and all that shit. This move is essential for that because it will hit on the way down. So, like, let's say you hit them on the way down into relax. You're going to get this, boom, you're going to get the TA. So what I do against Eddie and Christy is I always do down one tag every time. So if they go down into relax, you're going to get the TA combo just like this, without the down forward 2, of course. You're going to get the TA combo, and if they are already fully in relax, it's going to hit them out of relax, and it's going to leave you in a safe position. If they get into relax and you hesitated, and you still should do this, because if they do a move out of relax, you're still going to get that TA afterwards. So basically, this move is going to terrorize Eddie and Christy players all day long. It's really important for that. Or any kind of low-hitting stance. Any kind of stance that's pesky. Pesky stances. I noticed Kiss Army in the chat just mentioned handstand as well. Yep, handstand or any airborne type of stance. Boom! Get the fuck on the ground. Boom. Check this shit out. Boom. Easy money. Look at his hand. Look at his hand. You see the claw he's making with his hand? That's how you know. The claw. This move is fucking good. Anyway, moving on. Down 2-1, another extremely cheap move. The reason I use this move is because it's just another cheap move. It's a ton of damage on hit. Especially with rage, it's a ton of damage. It's safe. Second hit can be delayed, but again, is safe. If the second hit counter hits, you get a combo like that. So very, very cheap. The second hit also hits grounded on most characters and hits semi-grounded on all characters. Really, really great move. Exceptionally good. Covers a ton of space. That's really what it's for. Long range, safe mid. It's really great. I mean, I highly recommend it. It's like the companion for... This is basically your down 2-1. Down 2-1 is like your Enemigo with down forward 1+2. These two guys are buddies. These are your two main mids. Down forward 1+2 and down 2-1. And then honorable mention up 4. Those are your main power mids if they're ducking. Down 2-1, really, really a great move. Again, especially if they are, if you have rage. Oh god, that shit is so cheap. So really, really great. What else can I mention about this move? I feel like I'm forgetting something important. It is really good for rage, as I mentioned. Oh, it's a natural combo. I don't know if I mentioned that, but really, really cheap. Hopefully I'll remember it before the tutorial is over, because I think I'm going to end up talking about that move again later. But moving on. Down 3, I think, is an extremely unique and good move. So this move, I think, is right on the threshold of unseeable. So in my opinion, in Tekken 6, unseeable low was 21 frames or faster. And anything slower than 21 frames is basically seeable. But in this game, I think there is it's gone up 1 frame. So there is 1 frame of lag introduced to this game. So I now think that the threshold for a seeable low is around 22 frames. So if they're very sharp, of course, they'll be able to see up to 20, etc., etc. You get it. It's a fucking human tendency. So, you know, there are variables. But generally speaking, 22 frames is seeable. This low, I don't remember exactly how fast it is, but it's right in that threshold of seeable and unseeable. I especially think it's more seeable at range, only because it's like you can see what else does he got that looks like that's gonna hit from that range, right? So a lot of the time, if you use it at max distance, it will get blocked. However, up close, it's a good high crush, and it's very hard to see this move up close. So it is relatively risky, and you know, if they're sharp, they'll be able to see it, but it is definitely usable, and it's definitely a great low. On hit, you're at slight, I think you're actually at 0 on hit. So one thing you could do is sidewalk, because you're left in crouch. You can sidewalk. They're also left in crouch, as far as I recall, but maybe not. I don't recall. I don't remember. I'm gonna double check that. So only take a moment. Yeah, both of us are left in crouch at 0. So basically what you can do to use this on hit is you can think about what moves your opponent's character has. So let's say you're playing against, like, I don't know. Let's say you're playing against another Jinpachi player, right? I mean, if you're playing against another Jinpachi player and you think they're going to attack, maybe they're going to do a wall standing 3 in that position. It's 13 frames and it'll track to only one side. So let's say they're going to do a wall standing 3 from the 2-piece side right here. That means I'm going to be able to sidewalk up and make the wall standing 3 whiff. So that's just one example of how you can use it. But I definitely think down 3 is a great move. I use it all the time. And I really think it's something that you should remember as a low. The range is so good on it too. Really, really a cheap move. It hits on the ground as well. Hits side roll. Really a great move. Let me have this guy switch out to Heihachi so he's not a big character. Okay, so moving on. Where are we now? Down 3. Down 1+2 I do use, even though I don't use it very often. I use it for Okazemi because it hits on the ground and it hits side roll. It's like a really big move. So if they're like laying on the ground, or you know they're going to lay on the ground, this is a solid move to do. Takes a good amount of damage. But you know, it's just an Okazemi tool. Just remember, this is one of your options that hits on the ground. On block, it's plus a couple of frames, but it really leaves them at a range that taking any kind of initiative is going to be risky. So, you know, keep that in mind. Anyway, moving on. Down 3+4 is a stance he has that has a couple of options out of it. Down 3+4 2 is tag bufferable electric type of a launcher. It's high and it's +9 on block. This is usable in raw tag situations. So let's say like you did some shit, whatever, knock them down, blah blah blah, and then you think they're gonna raw tag. Boom, charge this bad boy up and you can raw tag punish for a good amount of damage. This is a very high tag bufferable launcher. As you could see, I did a really high damage combo there. So yeah, it's good for that. The other thing is he has this mid Thunder God Fist off of it. That is also usable in some combos as well as raw tag punish. But, you know, this is really not. You're going outside of the threshold of being a minimalistic, you know, type of a bitch. Remember, as I mentioned, the goal here is to be a bitch. And if you do stuff like this too much, you're really doing too much. It's more than needed. It's better to just reduce your move list down and use the stuff that you need rather than the stuff that you have. You know, just because you have it doesn't mean you need it with this character. So moving on, down back 1-2, I already mentioned this move as being his most reliable high crush option. It is risky because it is launch punishable on block, but as I mentioned, and you'll find this with a lot of Jinpachi's moves, Jinpachi goes unpunished or punished incorrectly more than I'd say any other character in the game, especially considering how good of a character he is. So not only is he doing all this shit and he's really cheap and really good, but on the other hand, he's also not being punished correctly too. So even if they were punishing him correctly, he's still good. But people don't even punish him correctly. So it's really, really something that you have to factor in the long run. A lot of people don't know how to play against Jinpachi. He's a new character, and you know, just he's cheap. So it's one of those things that it's worth doing. When you weigh out the real world risk reward of this move, it's a lot more rewarding than it seems, and the risk is a lot less than it seems, just because of how hard it is to consistently 100% punish it. You know, I've even watched videos of Korean players, Japanese players. I've watched Evo top 8 footage of, you know, Korean players playing against Bronson, and you know, this shit does not go punished 100% of the time. So really, really gotta think about that. It's really good. Let's see, moving on. Down back 2-1. Good high crushing low poke. Problem is that it's low high, so they can duck it and launch punish you. On top of the fact that if they're sidewalking, I'll try and show you this. This is kind of a against Jinpachi thing, but let's see if I can do this. Oops. So if you sidewalk it, but it still hits you, the first hit can hit you, and then the second hit can whiff. I don't know if that will happen against Jinpachi. Let's try it with Dragunov. Like that. That's a punish. So it's very dangerous to do this move, especially if the opponent is sidewalking, because if the first hit hits a sidewalking opponent, the second hit can still whiff and you can still get launched. So remember that as an anti-Jinpachi strategy. Moving on. This is Jinpachi's basically his falling leaf. If you're up close, this will knock down. It's basically his main low that you want to use when you're up close. The only risk involved in this, because I think it's unseeable, I genuinely think this is an unseeable low. If you get it blocked, you will be launched because it staggers on block. If you are too far away for this to knock down, which does happen. Let me switch this character out again. Okay. So if you're not close enough, that will happen. Which isn't that big of a deal because the shoulder part of this is only -13. So you will get punished, but you are not going to get punished that hard. So for that reason, I think this move is very useful to use just whenever you're in range and you think they're just going to stand up. If the wall is nearby, and I'll talk about this again later, but if the wall is nearby, it will wall carry to the wall and you could do a down one to bound. So really, really a great great move, great low, unseeable, good Danny, great move overall. Let's see. What is this? Oh yeah, this is a solid low poke as well. I don't use it that much anymore because I feel like when I play Jinpachi, it's like all or nothing. So I don't really need to use this move because it's like you're being too much of a pussy, you know? Like, man up, you're playing Jinpachi, take a little bit of risk and knock this motherfucker down. You know what I mean? That's basically how I see it. You don't really need to use this move, but if you're in a really clutch situation and you don't want to get launched, I think this move is only minus 14 or 13, so you won't have to worry about getting launched on block. It also hits on the ground, and it's pretty decent overall. But again, I always feel like if you're gonna do a low, man up and do like a real low and knock this motherfucker down and get him pissed, you know. So that's basically the philosophy I take with the character, which if you're following that philosophy, this low doesn't really find its way into your game too often. Though, you know, I can see it being decent for like a round ender or whatever. Moving on. Backswing blow. This move is fucking great. I don't use it enough. I forget to use it. I think it's like minus 11 on block and it's a high, but there's a shitload of pushback. So you can see that a lot of jabs will not reach from that range. And, you know, it's a really good move. It backs up quite a bit. It's not a launcher, and it puts them in that situation where they can tech roll. If they can hold back to quick roll. But if they don't tech roll, that's guaranteed. Forward teleport into that shit. If they do quick roll, you're still forward teleporting to chase them down. So it's really good. And I highly recommend it overall. It's a good backswing blow because it creates a lot of space and it will make a lot of mids whiff. So another option when you're up close to deal with, you know, hasty offense from your opponent. Let's see, moving on. Back 1-2, I already talked about it. It's your 12 frame Punisher. You can use it as a whiff Punisher as well, but I wouldn't. Basically, you should just stick to down forward 2 because if you miscalculated a whiff and it got blocked, it's like, whatever, who gives a fuck? Minus 12. Do your thing and let me get back here and fuck you up next time, you know? So, you know, back 1-2 only good for a minus 12 whiff Punisher, really, in my opinion. Back 2 is a true homing move. It's mid, and on counter hit, it's going to give you a combo. However, I don't think it's very useful. The reason is because it's like minus 12 or 13 on block, and I don't see why you would need to use that over down forward 1+2, which though it isn't a true homing move, it does track 360, and it's a launcher. You don't need a counter hit for this. So basically, I don't really see that much use in back 2 for the reasons I mentioned. It's unsafe, and you don't really need it when you have down forward 1+2. So, you know, personally speaking, I don't use it on purpose ever, but it's really not that catastrophic of a move overall. I just like to be minimalistic. So, you know, down forward 1+2 covers that move pretty well. Back 3 is the beginning of his 10 string. I don't ever use it on purpose. He has other moves that cover this move. Yeah, I don't really use it much at all, to be honest. Unnecessary move. Back 4 is a much better homing move, but it is high. I can see this being used at the wall because it's safe and it tracks, and on block it pushes out at a certain range. If you get them to block it, it pushes out enough for you to, because it has good range. So if you use it as a shallow hit, it pushes out just enough for them to, if they fuck up and try to retaliate, you can backdash down forward 2, and that really is a decent strategy. So back 4, though it again is replaced by down forward 1+2 as a homing move, back 4 is still usable in some ways because it's safe and it has good uses as a shallow block to create space. So this is one of those cases where though you do have down forward 1+2 to cover you as a homing move, this still has outside uses, not just as a homing move, but the homing move is like an added bonus for the other strategy you're using it for, which is a homing move that you can have them block on shallow hit to bait out further, you know, damage. So let's move on. Back 1+2 is basically another bound move. I use it in combos. I don't really use it otherwise. It has very bad range, as you saw right there. But one thing, a side note, when you pick Mokujin and Mokujin gets Jinpachi as his move list, do back 1+2. It looks fucking so cool when Mokujin does back 1+2. I think it looks way cooler than when Jinpachi does back 1+2. So do yourself a favor. If you're playing as Mokujin and you land Jinpachi as Mokujin, try this out. It looks fucking super sick when Mokujin does this move. Totally unrelated to any kind of strategy. I just thought it looked really cool, so I thought I'd mention it. Otherwise, I don't really think this move is very good, and I don't use it that much. Up back 1-2 is a hella good move. I don't use it that much. I use it when I need it. The reason I use it is because it's a 13 frame mid-mid counter hit launcher. That's very fast. So that's the basically what it looks like when you launch with that move. It is really good. Up back 1-2 also is a big part of his combos, and there's something that I have to mention about this move, which is essential to completing combos with this character. So basically, if you do up forward 3+4, you enter this flying stance, which I'll talk about later. But the flying stance has options to do moves out of it, right? In this case, I'm going to talk about the can move. So the flying 3-4 is like a really important wall carrying ender for this character. Now, if you do this stance manually, you have to input the 3-4 right away. So it's basically like you can't delay it. If you delay it, it's not going to come out. You just got to do up forward 3+4, 3-4 right away. But if you do it with up back 1-2 forward, you have the opportunity to delay it like that. So that is going to be the key, the delayed version of the can-cans, which does not normally exist with this stance. Only exists off of the up back 1-2 version. If you do the delay version of the can-cans, you're going to be able to land combos that you normally cannot land. One example of this is my bread and butter combo with this team off of down forward 2. You have to delay the can at the end of that. I'll show you again so you can see it. You have to delay the can at the end of that, or else it's not going to hit. So this combo is only possible if you understand that the up back 1-2 version of fly stance has the option to delay the can. So you got to keep that in mind for when you're learning combos with your specific team. A lot of the time people move past the up back 1-2 at the end of the combo into can thinking it doesn't work when they have not tried delaying it yet. So that's one little trick I found with this character that's really important for people who are trying to learn the character. Anyway, so up back 1-2, as I mentioned, really great for Okazemi off of his one throw for a quick rise, as you saw right there. And another good thing about this move is you can do it from crouch. So let's say you hit with down 3. If you hit with down 3, they're at 0, and you have the opportunity to do something like that. Or, you know, even a down 1. It's basically a 13 frame mid-mid that is accessible from crouch. So really a solid move overall. Not abusable, but usable for sure because of its unique properties. Let's see, moving on. Up 4, I mentioned this move earlier. It's one of your main go-to mids. Really, really important. Safe, can't be parried. Really great move. Low crush. And if, you know, they try to quick rise, as I mentioned earlier, to reduce the damage of the guaranteed stomp, you'll be able to do all that bullshit. So really great overall. Up forward 3-4, I use this all the time as well. Hunting Hawk. It's really good on block. I think it's plus frames on block. I'm not sure how much. On hit, it does a lot of Danny. It can wall carry if you're perfectly spaced out, and then you'll be able to do a down 1 for a wall splat. But overall, this is one of those good, like, I want to do a mid that has good range, and I want to buy myself some time. This is a solid move overall. I do recommend it on occasion. Let's see. Moving on, up forward 4 is another move that I use more than I think perhaps other Jinpachi users. It's pretty safe on block. I think it's completely safe on block. It has a really good hitbox, except it's linear, but it has a good vertical hitbox. And the thing I like about this move is that it has such long range. So you can be really far and you can use it as a whiff punish. And if they don't tech roll, or quick roll, what I should say, yeah, I think you should be able to get... yeah, that. Which is the most damage you can get. If they do not quick roll. And overall, it's a solid move. The only thing is that you have to remember that it is, you know, very linear. So you got to keep that in mind. Moving on. Up forward 3+4, I mentioned earlier, is his fly stance. I don't use most of the moves out of it, though I'll talk about most of them. He has the move 1, 2, 4, which is this. That's only used in combos, which you've seen me do over and over throughout this tutorial. Otherwise, I don't really use that. He has 1, 1, 2, which is a just frame. I don't really use that one that much either. It's usable. It's an air throw just frame that's usable in solo combos, and there's only one solo combo I use it in. But generally, I don't even do solo combos with Jinpachi because doing a tag assault with Jinpachi generally will give you over 90 damage, which after the Okazemi is going to put your opponent into rage anyway. So most of the time, I basically do a tag assault. So you don't ever, I personally don't ever really use this this just frame thing. Another thing he has off of fly stance is the can move. Now the thing is, this move does a lot of damage, but I don't ever use it against a standing opponent because I think the real mix-up off of fly stance is the slam dunk, which is fly stance 2, versus the low, which is fly stance 4. These are this is the 50-50. Initially, I thought that the mix-up would be cans versus the low, but I found after many matches that that's not the case. This move hits a lot more consistently in terms of timing alongside with the low. It hits really well with the low. So if the low hits, you're gonna get some wake ups. If the mid hits, you're gonna get other wake ups, and basically that's your 50-50 if they're hesitating and you choose to use this flying stance. Let's see, moving on. Discussed all this shit already. Okay, 4-4-2 is one of those moves that you can totally erase. There's no reason to ever use this move. It sucks. Don't use it on purpose. The only cool thing about it is it sets them on fire, and that's pretty cool. But other than that, totally shitty move. Not necessary in the least bit. Forward 3, hella fucking cheap move. This is one of those ones. Because remember earlier when I mentioned that his sweet spot is around down forward 2 and then further? The reason I said that is because he has moves like down 3 and forward 3 to use as long range whiff punishers. Now, of course, no, 4. I noticed this gentleman in the chat, AZG4Life, AZYG or whatever complicated nickname that is, asked if this 4-4-2 is safe. It is not safe. I think it's -11 or maybe even 12. So definitely not a good move. Don't use it. Moving on, 4-4-3, really fucking cheap move. If it hits, a stomp is guaranteed. Really cheap damage. If they don't tech roll after that stomp, if they quick rise, you can do a down 1. I'm sorry, not a down 1, a down back 1. This is what I do. Boom, down back 1, and then they fucked up. They're going to eat some extra damage, and you're going to return it the favor. So 4-4-3, really a great move. You have to be careful when you're doing it randomly at range because the opponent can easily sidestep left to make it whiff. But it's safe on block, covers a ton of range, hits on the ground, punishes raw tag. Super cheap move. And it gives decent wake-ups afterwards. So, yeah, it's super cheap. One of his cheapest moves, actually. Let's see, moving on. 4-4-4. The more I play this character, the more useful I find this move. The more uses I find for this move. It's his demon flip. It hits on the ground. It's, I think, maybe 0 on block or -1 on block, which is really good. It does leave you in crouch though, so you have to be careful how you use the block stun, but this move is great. Now the reason why I'm finding that it's better than I originally thought is because if you look, let's see if I can slow-mo it. Oops. So if you look at the animation, forward, forward, 4 actually will high crush at the beginning of the animation. So this move will high crush and low crush, and then hit mid, and it's 0 on block, and hits on the ground. So if you consider all that, the move is starting to become really valuable as a move overall. That's what I started to notice after a while. I started to find that this move was high crushing a lot, and it's very, very useful when you don't expect it to be useful. High crushes, low crushes, I find that this move is much more usable than I initially thought when I was playing this character. So yeah, check that move out. Next up is his slash kick. Not the best slash kick in the world, but it does have a weird property to cross up at times. One way that I know you can do that is if you hit with a 1-2 slightly off axis, but it still gives you the it gives you that shit, and they quick rise. If you time the running slash kick correctly, which isn't the easiest thing in the world to do, but it will happen, you will cross them up. I'm determined to show you this. I'm determined to show you this. Nope, that was too far. There we go. So it will cross up. What that means is, if the opponent blocks that, you basically get an unblockable back turn 4, but they can duck it. Now the thing is, if you do a back turn down 1, that's going to be 100% unblockable. So if you do that slash kick into a back turn down 1, and they did not push a button to turn around, you'll be able to do back turn while standing 4-4-1, and that's going to combo. So you have to do the slash kick, it'll cross up, then you do the back turn down 1, and you watch to see their character. If they push the button to turn around, then you just basically got to chill. If they did not push a button to turn around, then you'll be able to do the while standing tsunami kick combo, and you're going to get a ton of damage for that. So that's one thing. That's one way to use that. It's pretty decent. It's a solid slash kick. Not the best in the game, but definitely worth using. Definitely solid. I already talked about wall standing 1-1 as your 14-frame punisher and as a solid way to deal with jabs since it's so fast. It's almost hit confirmable, though not exactly by frames, but it is almost very close to being hit confirmable, so you can use it like that. Get some water. Alright. While standing 2, I talked about this earlier. It's a 20-frame launcher that's tag bufferable. I recommend that you tag buffer it every time. He does have a built-in tag assault, which is the 1+2 fireball. And with Kazuya, he has like a special combo with that. But generally speaking, I would recommend tagging it out to get the red life, because you get such a huge bounce after the launcher that you can do a lot of damage with that combo, with that launcher. The opportunity is there to do a shitload of different combos. You just find what you like the best, but this is really, really a good launcher. If you block something that, you know, is it staggers on block. Another thing that I should mention about this launcher is that on block, let's see if I can show you that without changing the settings. So on block, though it is launch punishable on block, I think it's -18, I find that it goes unpunished or punished incorrectly very frequently. So if they block it and try something that, for example, is going to whiff, like let's say like a 10-frame punish or a 12-frame punish that is going to whiff, a lot of the time what you can do is you could do this shit, they whiff their punish, and you launch them with a down forward 2. It happens very frequently. So let's say Heihachi, right? I'm playing against a Heihachi player right now. If he does 1-1-2 after that, because he's a moron, which a lot of people are morons, you will find. If he does 1-1-2 after that, it's going to whiff. The 1-1 is going to whiff, and then just as it's whiffing, I'm going to launch him with down forward 2. So extremely useful thing to remember when your opponent fucks up. And a lot of the time, as I mentioned earlier, Jinpachi goes punished incorrectly very often. So you have to take full advantage of your opponent's ignorance. And this is one of those ways you're taking advantage of your opponent's ignorance. Let's see, moving on. While standing 3, talked about that already. I already talked about the tsunami kick combo. Really something you should remember. Unsafe after the second hit, unsafe after the third hit, but basically you have to use all these things together to make them, you know, usable overall. Full crouch down forward 1 is extremely good. A move that I recommend people abuse. It is like maybe minus, I don't know, 11, 12, or 13 at the most, but it's absolutely unseeable. When you duck in your opponent's face, this is the thing that makes them want to duck. They don't like it. The reason they don't like it is because on hit, you can backdash. So you can just basically hit them with this as much as you want until they get irritated and start attacking afterwards. So on hit, it's like -1 or 0, something around there. And if you hit with it, you can backdash their retaliation and punish it. So that's what I really love about this. On counter hit, you're going to get a knockdown like this, in which you can chase down your opponent with something like that, which is really great. Tons of setups available there. And it's really a cheap move. On top of that, this makes it a viable strategy to dash in, duck in front of your opponent. So you can do dash in, duck, full crouch down forward 1, or dash in, duck while standing 1. And then try to hit confirm it, even though it's not possible. Just try, like, see if they pushed a button. You know, you'll see. When you pick Jinpachi and try to use while standing 1-1 with a hit confirm, you'll see what I mean. It's not truly hit confirmable just visually, but if you incorporate everything from your hearing, did they push a button? You're watching their character. Did the character move before you hit them with while standing 1? Then you can apply the almost hit confirm of while standing 1-1. Let's see. Moving on. Full crouch down forward 2. Though I don't use this that much, there is some good use for it, which is the range on it is ridiculous from crouch, and it's safe. So that's what's good about this move. However, it doesn't really do anything. It just knocks them away. It is a good wall splat if the wall is nearby, but you are not nearby and you're in crouch. You could swing this motherfucker at him and boom, wall splat him. So that's what's good about it. And he is very safe afterwards. So that's really good too. Moving on. Sidestep 2-1. You know, I use sidestep 2 on occasion because of its range, but I don't really think it's a good move. Every time I do it, I think, why did you do that? Sidestep 2-1 is a natural combo. Does a lot of Danny, but it's very unsafe and it's not hit confirmable. So this is another one of those moves for Jinpachi that I would really not really use that much. I mean, why would you use sidestep 2-1, for example, over down 2-1? Or even sidestep down 2-1? It's really like the same fucking move, but one is unsafe and one is safe. So just keep that in mind. Not really that good. I don't use it even in any of my combos. I don't really think it's that good. But you could find some combos for it. One of the last things I'm going to talk about as far as his basic move list is his stomp. Now this stomp is really good because of the damage, because of the okizeme it gives afterwards, and it spikes. But the thing that makes it not that great is that it's -16 on block and it's a low. So low stomps, there are a lot of them in this game. The ones that are launchable on block are the ones that are like, you got to be careful using them on okizeme. For example, Dragunov's stomp, which is hella fucking good, is only -11 on block. So let's say the opponent blocks it, they're only going to be able to do a 11 frame while standing punish here. it is also low. But you look at Jinpachi, if they get up and block that low, they're going to be able to launch you. So that's definitely something that you should remember when you're doing this stomp. If it's not 100% guaranteed like it is off of a up 4, you should definitely be careful how you use it, because if they get up ducking, they're going to ruin your fucking Christmas. So be careful about that. He has a couple of taunts, which I don't really give a shit about. He has his 10 strings and throws. So we're pretty much done with this basic move list. But what I am going to do is I'm going to show you some wall stuff, and then we'll wrap things up with a couple combos, and then we'll be good to go. You guys should basically know the basics on how to play this character. And I could go eat some lunch and have a cigarette. So let's see, what wall stage? I like this Russia wall stage, so let's pick that one. I already talked about wall standing too. Jesse Montez. You know, it's a solid move overall. There's some shenanigans with it, but overall, you know, it's one of those moves that you got to be careful how you use, especially against a good opponent. So let's talk a little bit about his wall game here. So I mentioned that his wall game is very dangerous. One of the reasons why it's very dangerous is down forward 3. Down forward 3 is really a cheap move. One reason why it's very cheap is if the opponent raw tags, and let's see if I can make him do that. Second action. Is there a raw tag option? Change. So this is why it's cheap. If they're raw tagging, it still hits, and it's still, because the raw tag by the wall, it will often make things whiff. I don't know how much experience you have with TTT2, but the raw tag by the wall is kind of a bitch. But if you use it at the wall, you still most often will hit both characters, and you'll get tons of Halloweens here. So this is just one of those things where it's gonna induce Halloweens, and I think that's really important in this game. And you know, this move is very cheap anyway, so it's really important to remember that. Down forward 3, what I like to do is down forward. Let me turn this change shit off and grab some water. So, this move, what I would do near the wall... What the fuck? I thought I changed that. Oh. Okay. So what I do at the wall is I dead button the second hit of this, and I just do down forward 3, down forward 3, down forward 3, 3, down forward 3, 3. And then when I feel like, okay, this guy's had enough of this shit, boom, down forward 3, 2. I'll try and use it similarly, because I used back 4, 3 with Dragunov, just like that. I'll do back 4, oh, you're trying to move around? Boom, don't ever try that. Boom, into the wall. So that's how I use back 4, 3, and basically that's how I use down forward 3 as well. I use down forward 3 with dead buttons to just like, you know, gauge them out, see what they're doing. I also like to use back 4 here, just because it tracks. So if you're using down forward 3, 2 with back 4, they're not really happy. And it does so much damage. That's the thing. You're doing so much damage here. Let's see. What was my wall combo? The one that did the most, Danny? Oh, yeah. Well, I fucked it up. But that's the most damage wall combo you could do off of that. What else is important by the wall? So, of course, you got to remember, everything that I've told you about block punishing is essential at the wall, because his punishers, most of the time, are going to yield a ton of Danny at the wall anyway, because they wall splat and stuff. So, you know, keep that in mind. Forward 1+2 is another safe mid that you can use to wall splat, and if they try to retaliate afterwards, you always got to remember, anytime you're using anything safe at the wall, never ever forget down back 1-2. Down back 1-2 is like the thing that, you know, it's always threatening. You have to always threaten with that. Down back 1-2. Boom, 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 boom. So cheap. So cheap. Everyone hates it. It's super good. Moving on, for the wall, he has a lot of safe options for mids. Wall splatting mids. You know, back 4 is high, but it wall splats and tracks. Down 4, 3, 1, not safe, but a ton of Danny. Let's see. Oh, yes, at the wall, forward, 1+2 also is a wall splatting throw. Very, very useful. Should keep that in mind. Let's show you guys another more consistent combo. This is a more consistent combo with him. So yeah, 1+2 becomes a very valuable throw at the wall. So that's something you should remember as well. Let's see here. I don't want to miss. Oh yeah, I like to use forward 4 a lot near the wall because, as I mentioned, on block or hit, a throw is uninterruptible, and his 2 throw leaves them right back into the wall. So, you know, it's like you're just fucking with them non-stop. Forward 4 is a great move. It's also a bound move. A lot of people like to hop kick at the wall because they're scared. So it's also going to be a bound move. You know, there's just a lot of uses for it. I think it's an exceptionally good and noteworthy move for pressure near the wall. I mean, it's basically very simplistic. That's basically the general gist of this character. If you follow just the basic ins and outs of the stuff that I've talked about so far, I mean, you're gonna do well. If you know how to play Tekken, that's the key. If you understand the basic concepts of Tekken and you are good at moving around, block punishing, and recognizing, oh, I just blocked something that's -13, I'll do this. Oh, I blocked something that's -14, I'll do this. If you're able to wrap your head around those basic concepts, you're going to do well with Jinpachi. Because Jinpachi is just a cheap fucking character. He's super duper cheap. Extremely cheap. So, before I go, I guess I'll do a couple of combos just to show you what I do. A lot of people ask me why I don't play Jinpachi with Wang. The reason I don't play Jinpachi with Wang is because I don't like their combos. The damage output isn't as good as with Dragunov, and the combos that you have to do are also a little bit trickier and harder than what they're worth, considering Dragunov, the output is much more as far as damage, and the combos are less finicky. So, you know, it all depends. Jinpachi is not the perfect partner for every character, but he is at least a good partner for every character. I think that is another reason why he's one of the, if not the best character in the game, because he can be played effectively with any character, and he's just he's like a standard power assist. So I would recommend that anyone who's playing this game who's having trouble finding a second character picks this guy up, because he is just a cheap fucking bitch, basically. I'm not in love with the angle that this starts you at for combos, but let me show you guys a couple combos. So basically you can do a variation of everything that you've seen me done so far. The down forward 2 combo of choice I like to use is up 4, back 1+2, then bound. But there are other ones as well, like you can do while standing 3. You do down forward 2 while standing 3, down forward 3, 1. That works. Oops. So something like that would work. You know, there are other options as well. Like you can do while standing 3, which is hard to do. I think his max damage bread and butter combos require multiple while standing 3s. But let's face it, you didn't pick Jinpachi because you're trying to do hard combos. You picked Jinpachi because you're trying to fuck people up. So, you know, I mean, yeah, you could try to do that shit, but you're not really impressing anyone, in my opinion. And all you're going to do is drop that shit in a tournament. So, you know, I mean, that's just the way I look at it. Down forward 1+2, I mentioned earlier, one of the cheapest moves in the game by many Tekken players. That's known to be one of the cheapest. So you could use down 1 immediately after that to get your bound, and then wall carry with that shit, and then you can do whatever the hell you want. any kind of stun you get with Jinpachi, what I do is just keep it simple, down forward 3-1. Basically, it's a good rule of thumb. If something stuns with Jinpachi, no matter what it is, down forward 3-1 will bound. I mean, I'm talking about anything. While standing 3, down forward 3-1. What else? What else does he have? Counter hit forward 3, down forward 3-1. So the rule of thumb is anytime you hit with a move that counter hits stuns, down forward 3-1 should combo. And then you're going to be able to do, just, you got to know your combos, but that's basically how you combo with this character reliably. I mentioned earlier as well that the falling leaf, if spaced correctly from the wall, can wall splat. Let me see if I can show you that. It's kind of tricky, but let's see here. Like that. So you can wall splat from a little bit far away, and that can yield quite a bit of damage, you know, and people don't like that because, you know, they weren't even near the wall. Let me see. Did I forget anything else? I mean, I'm pretty sure that covers the basics. So, I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. So, if you find that I missed anything or have any questions, you know, you can leave a comment in the YouTube video. But otherwise, you know, I think I covered the character relatively reasonably. I'd say this was a beginners to intermediate level tutorial. I'm not a 100% expert with this character, but you know, I do know the basic ins and outs, and you know, I think that he's a really fucking cheap character. So hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about this character, and I really highly encourage everyone learn how to play this character. He's very easy to pick up, very easy to learn, and he's really fucking cheap. So I highly encourage all Tekken players pick up Jinpachi and try him out. Anyway, thanks for watching, amigos. Thanks for subscribing, of course. I see a lot of cat faces out there. I will be streaming again in a few, maybe in an hour or two. I just want to go have something to eat and, you know, take a shit and whatnot. But thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. And again, thanks for subscribing. It really means a lot. Those of you who have ordered an ATP shirt, they are on their way. The guy said that they should be done this week. So I should have them in the next few days in my hands. And it's just a matter of shipping them all out to the people who have already pre-ordered them. If you're still interested in buying one, I bought about 50 extras with about 10 of each size. So I am going to give some of those away to subscribers, as well as you know, sell the remainder. So basically all the profit I made from the first 50 I sold, I invested into the next 50. So if anyone's interested in purchasing a ATP shirt, you could check that out. I'll put a link in the description to where you can go get that. Give me a moment for that. So that's where you can go to check that out. Another thing is every Thursday I do a live program called ATP Live. And recently I started taking Skype. Uh-oh, I got an echo. Boom. I started taking Skype calls, so I thought that was really fun. So if you're interested in calling in and sharing your opinion on the topic at hand, which I don't know what it is yet, or if you have a question for whoever's on the show this Thursday, you can call in and do that. That's going to be Thursday at 8 p.m. PST. So that's cool. And another thing is, this week on the show, at 8 o'clock, I'm going to give away an 8-arc Fusion arcade stick. Those arcade sticks are really one of the most high-end arcade sticks you can buy. They're dual modded. They also work on PC, so they work on Xbox, PS3, and PC. And they're super dope. I have an 8-arc synthesis, I think it's called, to give away. That's the one that's like a, you know, clear. And I think you can purchase them at 8arc.com for like 160 or 180 or something, plus tax and shipping. So this is a pretty fucking great steal. You know, if you're a subscriber, you're gonna get hooked up. One of you guys is gonna win a 8-arc synthesis this Thursday. You don't have to tune in to win it, but you do have to subscribe. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everybody, amigos. I'm going to go eat some leftover super nachos, and I'm going to catch you guys later. So take it easy and play on.